here's our weaponry section. You'll see these men here working on various types of stones, creating arrowheads. Here I'll explain the process of making arrowheads. We'll go out and find a large piece of the material that we're going to work with. This here is flint. You would get a large river rock, set this down on our lap, and strike it as hard as you possibly can to hopefully get a small shard. Then, with that small shard, if it's good enough, they'll begin the process of napping, which is what they are demonstrating right now. Just getting that general shape of the arrow. Once they're ready, they think their arrow's looking good and dandy, we'll begin the process of what is known as pressure flaking. And this is used to sharpen the arrow. We take a deer antler, and on the edges of the arrow we'll push down to sharpen the edges. And after metal tools were introduced, we were using nails instead of deer antlers. The deer antlers are a bit more larger. The nails, you can get that nice, fine, sharp edge. Put that there. Put that out there. With our arrowheads, we have two styles. This right here is known as the square shoulder, and it would be used for warfare. The twine holding the arrowhead in place was made from sinew, and when this arrow touches blood, or the sinew touches blood, it begins to expand. So if you do not get this arrow out in enough time, the arrowhead might actually fall out and be stuck in your body. And this right here is known as the round shoulder. It would be used for hunting. The twine holding it together are plant fibers, and you could easily reuse this arrow. You could take it out of an animal with ease. The shaft of the arrow would be made from mountain cane. It's similar to river cane, but it grows a bit shorter, a bit smaller, and also in higher elevations. And then right here we have a turkey feathers for the fletching. Cool little fact, if the turkey feathers don't come from the same wing, the arrow won't spiral correctly. So if you just make sure, if you decide to make an arrow, use the feathers from the same wing. Right here we have a bow, plant fibers, sinew, or even barren tested. It'd be about 5 to 11 feet long, and you can tell it's pretty crooked. The way we would straighten it out is that we hold it above a fire and then start bending it on our knee to straighten it out. And once it's good to go, we'll begin the process of hollowing out the river cane. We'll take this little device here with an arrow tip at the end and start busting out these joints that are all along the river cane. Then we turn it around, apply sand on the inside, and vigorously go back and forth, smoothing it out so the dart can go through with ease. Right here, after we were introduced to metal, we got this little device right here with the arrow tip on the end. And we even had another iron rod that had grooves on the end, so we could smooth it out, similar to the sand method. Here we have the dart that we would use. This in particular is a hunting dart. Competition darts are a bit smaller, but the shaft is made from yellow locust, and these little fibers on the end come from the Scottish thistle that you see hanging up right here. Hang them up to dry, and then eventually they'll produce these little fibers. When applying the fibers, we take them and place them in between our forefinger and our thumb, take some twine and put that in our teeth and start wrapping up all the way around. We start twisting that shaft until we got all the way to the end. Then also, we have right here the beginning stage of a war club. Now, with the Cherokee, they did not prefer ranged warfare. They thought it was cowardly. If you're going to kill someone, you owe them the respect of letting them defend themselves. So what we do, we take a block of wood and start shaving it down to give ourselves a handle. And this right here already has the ball end. Let's try a new blade there.
How long you been doing this? Forever?
Off and on, probably 5.
Where you found your flint?
He's seen me.
Oh, that's a good shot.
Wow.
Does it take a lot of air pressure to push it through there like this?
It's
Like your blown out candles. Or birthday candles.
We like to do that.
So right here, this is known as a deadfall trap. With the deadfall trap, it would be used to capture bison or even bear. The log right here would be placed on top of this one, this little guy, and the bait would be placed on this little trigger system that's facing out towards you. Whenever the animal would come and take the bait, it would move that trigger system out of the way, allowing the log to fall on top of them, killing them instantly or pinning them down. The purpose of the wall behind the trigger system is to ensure that the animal does not come in from behind and steal the bait. Almost fell. Alright, so right here, this is our figure 4 trap. It would be used to capture small game, like birds and squirrels and rabbits. And the trigger system can go either way, and once it moves, it will collapse upon itself, trapping the animal inside. Right here is my most favorite trap of our people. It is a fish trap, and we would place this in the river facing downstream, or the opening facing downstream. The fish will swim up into it, and the spikes that you see in the front, they would allow fish to go in, but never leave. So whenever you felt like having a fresh fish, go out to the river, open the top, reach in and grab one. This is our late 18th century home. During the French and Indian Wars and the Revolutionary Wars, a lot of our villages were burned down. So we had to figure out a way how to build up our houses quickly. And we came up with this idea right here. They can take about 6 weeks to build as long as you have everyone in the village helping you. And you can see that the logs have not been cut down. They've just kind of been left in their log form and they fused them together. The clay mixture that's in between those logs is something that we've been using for thousands of years. It's a mixture of animal hair, plant fibers, and clay. It's kind of like a natural mortar or a concrete. On the inside there's a half loft, just used for storage. No one would sleep up there. And there's even a drying rack.
I was born in Oklahoma, but our 9 was ground. On the trails and see the bison, and we moved around. They built a whole big center.
So DeSoto documented these huts here.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
And you might notice that it is really smoky on the inside. The way we kept that from happening is the doorway would extend out and wrap around the house to create a natural airflow to push the smoke straight up.
Okay, that's cool. Like the ventilation system.
Whenever you guys are ready, I'll meet you all down here by the
I want to know what this is for.
That's for pounding corn. We would kind of kneel and stand, but even this is not even the original size. Okay. It'd be about 30 to 45 feet long and about 3 to 5 feet wide. Oh. They were quite large trees back in those days.
It's all, are they beech?
Or
birch?
Type of wood.
Birch.
Yellow poplar.
You got poplar on here?
Yep. And the reason why we chose yellow poplar is it grew really tall.
Yeah.
And only sprouted at the top.
Right.
And all of the
That
rest.
big straight tall.
Yep. Perfect for that kind of thing. We'd even burn them down. Wouldn't really chop them down until settlers had brought us metal tools. We'd make a ring of clay about 4 feet above the base, all the way around that tree, and then burn out the bottom. And after a few days, it'll fall. Then we'll start this process right here. We'll put clay on the top and a little bit on the sides, build a fire, and the clay will control that fire to just burn that one particular spot. This process can take about 6 months up to about a year. And once we're done burning it out, it's all nice, good, and hollow. We'll create a pitch out of animal fat and pine resin, boil those two ingredients together, and then rub it on the outside and on the inside. This will actually ensure that no termites will get into it and it won't weather down. If we do this every year, every other year, these canoes can last close to 150 years. They can be quite old.
We don't give away food.
Do you speak Cherokee?
Very little.
Could you speak a bit?
Shio.
Shio?
That
What
means
is-
hello.
Hello. Okay. Shio.
Alma Aguaduli. I want water.
Oh,
Balancing.
that's amazing.
Shifting and descending.
Oh, Shigwadzun.
So how did you learn that?
How were you?
Oh,
I just asked you how you are. How did I learn what I know? From my parents.
really? So
My parents were fluent speakers, but Cherokees went through a time where when they put boarding schools here, and because the people in the boarding schools could not understand the Cherokee children, they beat and punished them for speaking the language. So a lot of us were not taught the language for fear of
That must be a special place for over there,
So where did they
because they got it roped off for.
Now we could have sandbars. If you look over in the fish, if you look in the on there, you'll see where the water comes down. There's sand, a pile of sand.
I love the way it's built.
And then if you look in the creeks, there's always sandbars. There can be sandbars and stuff too.
That's exactly right.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay. You have a great one.
You too. You
know I won't be part of it.
You're leaving?
In times when hunting was scarce, was working as a bit of a credit union, forwarding items the Cherokee needed and knowing that they'd be paid back later. And at times, traders even served kind of as field surgeons to help with the wounded and injured. Now, what the Cherokees wanted the most out of trade was anything that was just going to make your life easy. So it was a lot of metal. Tools and cookware in particular were the most commonly traded goods. They weren't really changing a lot of things the Cherokee were doing, but they were making the things they were doing a lot easier and a lot faster. Now, a close second to that was the gun trade. Cherokee did like getting a hold of guns, not really for warfare. They actually felt that that kind of distance combat was cowardly. Even before the bow and arrow, they didn't like fighting. They felt that if you were going to take a man's life, even if you hate that man, you owe him the respect to do it face to face, where he could defend himself and maybe even kill you first. There was just more honor behind that. And they would generally only turn to guns for fighting if the lives of women and children were at stake. But they, at the same time, they couldn't deny how much easier it was to take on big game, like bison and bear. It was so much easier with a gun than it was with bow and arrows. They really wanted it for that. After you get past those items, it was all about decoration for the Cherokee. Different types of cloth with different patterns and colors. Now the Cherokee in particular liked blues and reds in their colors. But also silk ribbon, glass beads, bits of silver, absolutely anything and everything that you could even figure out how to wear and display. Even things you might not expect, such as eyeglasses, not to improve your vision, but instead you're just going to put a strip of leather around it and wear it around like a necklace, just to show you had it. The Cherokee didn't have an idea of personal wealth, but there was your social standing in the community. And your standing was improved by the things that you could wear. And even though both Cherokee men and women enjoyed decoration quite a bit, it was so much more important and much more heavily seen with the men. When you look at animal species, you'll see that the male is very brightly colored while the female is not. When it comes time, mating season, it's the males who have to go out and get the female's attention. They don't have to get his. So the Cherokee saw how that was done in nature and said that must be the way to do it. So Cherokee men needed to impress the women. They were always perfectly fine whether they were dressed up or not. But as a Cherokee man, you needed to show that you could protect and provide for a family. You'd wear war trophies to show yourself as a warrior and a protector, and the trade goods showed your skills as a hunter. Because the Cherokee weren't using money, they were bringing in animal hides. Other things could be traded, yes, but nothing to the degree that animal hides were. The Cherokee by themselves were responsible for about 500,000 animal skins every year during the height of the fur trade. Massive amounts of these animals were coming in. And any animal with usable leather was perfectly fine for trade. The reason for that is that's what the Europeans wanted. They didn't want fur coats, they wanted the leather. And in particular, they wanted the leather for book bindings. That was the big demand for it. This essentially became, for a while, the economy of Europe. And all money, somehow, some way, was going into the fur trade. As I said, any animal hide was fine, but the most common was deer skin. And amongst the deer skin, the most common was buck skin, the male deer. That was so common, we still use it when we talk about money today. How much does something cost? $3 or $4? That comes precisely from the trade of all that buck skin. Anything else that came in was actually weighed, and that weight determined its value in buckskin. Now, when it came to relationships, the Cherokee and traders actually got along pretty well. You can't say that with every tribe. You go up north and there's some terrible things happening involved with trade there. But at the time, Cherokee were seen as a world power. All the governments of Europe wanted to make allegiances with them, and because they were bringing in so many furs, the traders wanted to get along with them very well. So you actually ended up with a lot of traders who were very trusted, who formed deep friendships with some Cherokee. And after a couple of years of being around, when that trader had really come to understand a lot about the culture and heritage, that trader may even be adopted. This was actually very common with Scottish traders, because there were a lot of similarities between the Scots and the Cherokee. And once they were adopted, in those days the Cherokee never wondered how much Cherokee blood someone had. That didn't matter. You were either viewed as Cherokee or you weren't. It was as simple as that. So an adopted trader was seen just as much Cherokee as a full-blooded chief standing next to him. Neither one was better or worse than the other. A lot of times, Cherokee would decorate themselves with different aspects of animals, and a lot of times that served as a form of what they called medicine for helping them. Like the bear claws, for instance. If I'm wearing that, that means when I go into battle, I'm asking for the strength of the bear. And so every bit can be different, and not everything was common. The snake sash in particular happened but wasn't common. Sometimes snakes were worn differently. There's even stories of an old chief who had gauges in his ears, and when he would meet people, he wanted the cunning of the snake, so he would actually take live snakes and let them slither through those gauges. So, at the end of the day, it was always asking for some aspect of that animal to be gifted to you for.
So the Spanish were the first to come into this area, or the French?
Spanish.
Because De Soto's Spanish.
Yep. Hernando de Soto was the first to make contact with the Cherokee. But after De Soto left, you actually have a gap of about 75 years before Europeans and Cherokee start having constant contact. But yes, De Soto was the first. But the Spanish was also the first to kind of leave Cherokee land. And most of Cherokee history deals with the English and the French. European languages, no guarantee you could talk to someone you came across. But it was very well understood by travelers that if you were to hold this and keep that pipe side up, it was letting someone know that
you're friendly.
Yeah, peaceful, friendly, offering tobacco, that kind of thing.
That's cool.